If you've struggled with fades before, especially on textured hair, this is your video. If you've had trouble removing this trimmer line, this is your video. If you've gotten lost during the haircut and you need some concrete ways to stay organized, this is your video. Applying my 6-phase approach and using easy to follow checkpoints will have you mastering this haircut in no time. But YouTube's gonna hate this because it's designed for real barbers to learn how to cut hair. So if you're not a barber, this video is more than likely not for you. And also, for my members, you guys are getting this early, and I just want to say thank you, and I want to encourage you to ask questions because you're getting this 2 weeks before anybody else, and I'm going to be happy to answer your questions in that time. Now, I like to make tutorials. My heart is in this. This is what I love to do more than anything in the world. But if you guys do not smash that like button or drop a comment, the only thing the algorithm wants me to do is make reviews. All right, and I like making reviews, but this is so much more important to me. So if you guys could just do me that little favor, smash that like button so that I'm able to do more content like this. This is gonna be a super in-depth tutorial. We will leave no stone unturned, and I promise, whether you've been cutting hair for a long time or you're just getting started, you guys are gonna come away with a lot. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the YouTube Barber Academy. Today, we're gonna be cutting Kevin's hair. I'm gonna be doing a full walkthrough. I'm gonna break down every step, and I'm gonna show you guys a couple of checkpoints along the way that are gonna help you ensure that you get this correct. So this is gonna be the easiest and most basic way that you can blend out his type of hair. I'm gonna start this out with my flex trimmer. So I'm actually gonna put this in the upward position, coming up and flicking out, right where we want our blend to start. So let's hit the easy button, and let's also hit the like button. Try setting in your guidelines with your trimmer in the facing upward direction, rather than doing it like this. And also relieve that pressure at the top of your line and start flicking out. What that's gonna do is that's gonna soften your guidelines, and that's gonna make it much easier to remove later. Now our goal here is to remove as much of this hair as possible off the sides, which is why I'm using a trimmer versus anything else, because I wanna make minimal work for the electric shaver for two reasons. One, my electric shaver is gonna work faster and better, and two, I'm gonna cause less discomfort or irritation to the client's skin. So once I got this completely cleaned up, we're gonna double check and make sure that we have this at the same height on both sides. So I wanna comb the hair down, because you know the curly hair, a lot of times it could just kind of sit a little funny, like right after you go through it, right? We'll comb it back down a few times, and we want to make sure that we set this guideline in here nice and accurate. After that, we'll go ahead, we'll remove everything underneath. I mean, and look at that, they cut down to pretty much nothing. And I'm gonna make sure both sides are even, which actually they are, but most of the time they are not. So most of the time I'll have to make a little adjustment here, and I'm gonna spin the back too. I'm gonna check this back line out, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. Once you get here, this is checkpoint number one. All you really need to have is your entire hair cut from the bottom with your trimmer, and make sure it's even on both sides. The next step is going to be using the electric shaver. I like to do this while I have this line here to show me how high to go. If you wait till the end of your haircut, you might not have that perimeter. You might wind up going a little higher than you should. So in this case, I like to do it like this. So here we go. This shaver is so fast that this will be so quick. As I get close to this line, I'm gonna flick up and out, just like I did. I actually like to do that with the shaver facing me, and that's really gonna be it. So beyond that, we're gonna remove all these big swaths of hair. You can never get an electric shaver to cut faster than this. I guarantee you, there is nothing out there that will do what I just did on the side of his head. I just flew through that section. So now I just want to make sure that I tie this in, and that's why I'm going to tip it this way. Now, in keeping with making your life easier, we will be flicking up and out with our electric shaver. Before we move on, we want to make sure that there is no line in between our trimmer and our electric shaver step. You can use this to flick up. You can stop just before this line. You can tap it and you can come down. And if you're really struggling to get that blend right, sometimes using an Uno or a single foil electric shaver makes it just a little bit easier. And this here, just go against the grain. There's really nothing left here. Nothing. Not getting anything. That's that, guys. That would be checkpoint number 2. We have one more thing to do before we move out of phase 1, but this here is going to be checkpoint number 2. We've completed our electric shaver work and we've tied that into our little trimmer line. All right, you guys ask me all the time, do I still use detachable clippers? And the answer is yes, absolutely, especially on any type of wave or wavy hair. So what I actually have here, I have my Oster Octanes and I have my number 1.5 on here, which you do want to do 1.5, right? You could do 2 if you want. I know you liked it a little bit shorter. All right. So your next step here is gonna be taking this and we're gonna go with the grain. And you're gonna notice the waves start to kind of show up when you do this step. We do not want to go against the grain, because if we go against the grain, he's gonna be completely bald. And that is not the style that he's trying to go for. Not yet. You better never do that. So back here, a lot of times you might have to be a little more careful if you're not bringing your fade as high. You'll notice that I'm just gonna go directly against the grain all the way up here, but once I go back up here, it's gonna turn to with the grain. I'm doing that because I'm taking my fade kind of on the higher side in that area. There's no reason for me to leave that lower. So this here is the final checkpoint. We've handled all of our debulking work, and now it's time we're gonna move to the next step. So the next step is gonna be doing the blend. So your final checkpoint is, we got the number 1.5 with the grain on the top. And to recap, we've done our electric shaver and we started with our trimmer in the upward position, which should soften up this line and make it much easier to remove. This is the brand new Saber 2, which literally just came out of the case this morning and I have not done anything to it. So all we're going to do here is we're gonna set in our first guideline. And this is gonna be a series of checkpoints, and I'm gonna show you guys a really easy way to complete this blend. First, we're gonna comb the hair down and make sure that we have all the hair laying in the direction we want. And now we're gonna tip this clipper out just slightly, and we're gonna scoop up and out. When we manipulate the clipper outward, we're gonna be soft setting in that next guideline. And additionally, we're gonna be moving our clipper back down so that we can hit flat in the true open taper length. The trouble starts for most students when they don't put adequate pressure on the head and they manipulate the clipper on accident. So the manufacturers have set up the clippers and the guards to allow you to fade out just about any haircut. It's when you do it on accident, that's when the troubles begin. Once we're done, we're going to be soft setting our next guideline. So all we're trying to do here is create a checkpoint. It can be very overwhelming in the beginning of your haircutting journey to be sitting here and thinking about 100 different things. Stay focused on completing the task in front of you. Don't worry about the rest of the haircut, just think about this. And I've already done 3 haircuts with this clipper and it has never been plugged in yet. This is a brand new Saber. I was literally just at the office, Stylecraft in Boca Raton. How about that? Sparkling water. Look at that. All right.
This is probably new since the last time we were here, right?
Yeah, no. Oh. And it was just an awesome time, and they sent me home with a little goodie bag. I'm gonna continue this step all the way around the head. And if you don't know, you can use like a pinky, you could use like a finger, whatever you want to do, just to make sure that you're keeping your guideline the way you want it. And remember, we start with the clipper tipped out, and then we're gonna sort of start to lower the clipper and get that length proper. So right here, using the pinky, I can kind of see whether or not I have it correctly. Now you see why setting in that first guideline accurate was so important. It becomes the foundation of our haircut going up. We're gonna put in 3 guidelines and we're gonna set our guidelines in horizontally and soft. But when we remove them, we will always have the clipper held diagonally using either one corner or the other. And this is gonna reduce the amount of mistakes we make. So I got my number 1 tight guard. I'm gonna put that on, and I'm actually going to open this halfway. So that will be 1, 2 clicks. So if you close it all the way, 1, 2 clicks, and we're gonna set in our next guideline. And now we're gonna set this on an angle, and I'm gonna hover half of that clipper off of the head. But yes, I am sort of setting in just another guideline. Might be a little faint, but you could see the guideline here and you could see the weight line up there. That's kind of what we want. We now have like 3 guidelines that we're gonna remove these. That's what makes this so easy. The fact that I've soft set the guidelines makes them much easier to see and much easier to get out. And again, this is only with the clipper halfway open. On this side, same thing, just the 2 clicks open, and we're going to hover the corner up and off, and basically I'm just trying to go up the same width that I did in my previous step, and by hovering that tooth off, that should soften up any of the guideline in the above step. So in this step, I'm simply going to hold it flat and I'm going to create one more guideline. You can see the weight line right there and the weight line right here, and it is the exact same width as my pinky. I'm going to commit this step all the way around the head, and then we actually have 3 guidelines to remove, which makes this really easy. I think anybody watching this can easily get to this point. It's usually when we start to remove the guidelines that the trouble starts. So we're going to start with our 1.5. I got our 1.5 tight guard on here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to open it 2 clicks. 1, 2. So once we've done that, now this guard should tie us together into the top. So we're just going to go ahead and let that happen, and you can see that guideline has pretty much disappeared entirely. So now I can feel free to close the clipper all the way and see if I can't touch any of those other hairs. This is it, guys. How easy is this? We're going to use a little bit of lever play, and we're going to take out both of these guides easily. If you feel like you need to open it, you can. If you feel like you need to close it, go ahead. This is when your eyes have to kind of guide you what it is you need to do next. That top weight line is gone. This is another checkpoint. So now we're going to work on this guideline. Once we get that guideline out, then we'll work on the final guideline. So in order to work on that guideline, we're going to grab our half guard, our half tight guard, and we're going to open it 2 clicks. 1, 2, and that's going to be it. So now with the crunch of this blade, I'm going to listen for it to cut. By listening for it to cut, that tells me if I'm cutting enough or if I'm cutting too much. It gives me an idea. And now I can go ahead and I can kind of move around the blade a little bit. If I need to open or close the lever a little bit, I can go ahead and feel free to do that. But notice the guideline that I was after is gone. I can actually open this all the way, and I can take a couple of steps with the grain to soften up any of those waves. And that looks pretty nice. So that guideline's gone. I'll continue this step. It won't take much. Very easy. If you don't have the experience of doing many haircuts and you're not 100% sure what you're doing, don't cut hair with headphones. And you know, if you can listen for this to cut, you can hear this really nice crunch. And it tells you whether or not you're getting that length or not. So it tells me if I need to, if I'm not hearing enough of it, then that means I need to go down. If I'm hearing too much of it, then that might mean I need to back off. So this can really make cutting hair extremely simple.
There is no such thing as a perfect haircut. So please don't fall for the Photoshop, the BS. The truth is, you're gonna knock a few haircuts out of the park. But barbering is not perfection. And most men, they don't give a fuck about how perfect their haircut is. They care if the experience is good, if the barber is friendly, and if they were on time. I've seen some of the best barbers in the country cut hair, and there is always something that they could do a little bit better. And we always believe that we are capable of a little bit more. But the reality is, this is not a hobby for us. This is an actual profession. We're here to do the best job we can with the time that we have with our customers.
This lets you not be in such a hurry to switch guards, change steps. I know a lot of you guys are chasing your tails when you're doing certain haircuts. You know, you think, oh, I'll try this, or oh, I'll try that. That's not working. But like, the truth is maybe you didn't apply enough pressure to this step. Maybe you weren't patient enough to try to find which direction to move the blade into. Like, as of right now, I've done an awful lot of good to this section. And I really haven't moved the blade at all until just now. So now I have it closed up a little bit more. And that's looking really good. So now I'll open this again. I'm gonna take a couple passes with the grain, see if I can't soften up some of that wave pattern. If you see any specific areas that look a little weighty, try to apply a little extra pressure there. Now that's what we want to see before we remove our final line. Like, this is actually a really good checkpoint here for you guys. Now, if yours doesn't look like this, where there's a very seamless blend going over the parietal ridge, if there's not a perfectly seamless blend, then I want you guys to work on this a little bit more. Maybe it means you go back to your number 1 for a second. Maybe we close that about halfway and we work on that a little bit. But in this case, it looks really good on this side. I want to make sure that it looks like this in the back. I want to make sure it looks like this everywhere else. And a number 1's a pretty good place to start, because my goal here is to finish out that final line and have this haircut pretty much done. So one of our final checkpoints as it relates to the blend. So as of right now, the rest of our haircut is quite perfect. And at the very bottom, we have this line that goes all the way around the head. So now we're gonna start to remove that little line that goes all the way around the head.
I'm going to show you 3 different ways to remove the skin line. And I think this is one of the reasons why it can be so hard to learn how to cut hair in the first place. Should you start from the bottom? Should you start from the top? The answer is, it really doesn't matter.
Okay guys, so how are we gonna approach this? We're gonna approach this with our clippers that are hopefully zero gapped, which these are not, and we'll see if this can remove this line, but fear not, I will show you a way that we can get this out. So I'm gonna start with this completely closed. So that means the lever is all the way closed here, and we're gonna see if this Echo Crunch blade can remove this without too much of a fight. So beginning with it completely closed, I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure with my thumb on top of that section. And I'm really trying to isolate only this corner of the blade. I like to start this from the bottom. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably gonna be sitting out there like, oh, doesn't he like to start this from the top and then move down? Like, the answer is no. I like to start this from the bottom because, as you can see, I've just made one little pass and it's already done an awful lot of the blend. So now what I can actually do is I can stretch the skin a little bit more. I can go back through a little bit lighter, and I already know that I'm not gonna have to go through all 5 steps on my lever to remove this line, which means that I'm gonna save time. So now I'm gonna bump up my lever literally 1 click, and I'm just starting to kind of fish around for just different areas that don't look perfect. Bump my lever up again. Try to stay against the grain. You can see some of the grain pattern right here kind of going this way. So I will try to mess around with that and meet that grain pattern. But all along, I'm really just trying to keep my eyes on the prize here and make sure that collectively as a whole, I'm not doing too much changing of the blend. I know that my blend is pretty good. I don't want to like try to reinvent the wheel here. Like, just little tiny adjustments is all I'm really going for at this stage, at this late stage in the haircut.
Now, when it comes to little tiny adjustments, let's talk about what blade suits the task the best. The Echo Crunch blade is essentially an updated Saber blade with deeper ridges. This enhances the sound and the feedback that the barber gets when they're cutting. Also, it allows for some forgiveness while blending. However, if you are using a fade blade for the entire haircut, you might make some mistakes. Fade blades are best for removing the harsh lines, and after that, you should switch over to a taper or a Saber blade or maybe one of these Echo Crunch blades. We'll demonstrate a couple different ways to get this done. Let's say you're not comfortable. You want to start with it in the open position. We'll go up till we hear it cut. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close it 2 clicks. We're going to go ahead and close it. Another click. Not going up as high. I'm going to go ahead and close it all the way now. Apply a little bit of pressure with my thumb. I mean, really, it all works the same. You know, if you're more comfortable to do it this way, I just know that there are some steps that I can typically skip. When I start from the bottom, there's usually some steps that I can typically skip. You don't want to put a big mistake that's this wide in the haircut. You want to make sure that you got this thing on an angle when you're blending. When we're trying to set in guides, we can put it in there horizontally, but on an angle only when we're blending. All right, and I'll show you another way to remove the skin line. This is 3 different ways. We can go to the halfway point like we did with so many of the other steps. And let's just charge over top of this line using only the corner, and let's see what it does. Okay, applying some good pressure. I see that we were almost able to get it done, so now I'll close it all the way. Okay guys, so this is your last checkpoint here as far as the blend. Blend is done. We're pretty happy. We're gonna go through, we're gonna do a little bit of detail work obviously afterwards, but let's get this edge up underway. So I could see it goes up a little bit higher right here, a little bit lower right here. So my goal is to only take what I need. I'm gonna go just a tiny bit in, and we're gonna make a quick rough draft where I'm not taking too much off. First step through is just your rough draft. Just doesn't have to be perfect. It probably won't be. See, Kevin likes to sleep upside down like a bat sometimes. So I could tell he was resting on this side of his edge up last night. But because I recognize that, you know, it's just sitting that way, I'm not gonna cut all that crazy hair off. Well, for a rough draft, that looks pretty good. Better than it normally goes the first pass around. So, being that I'm keeping Kevin from work, you guys got to smash that thumbs up. He came in a day early just so that we could film this for you guys. Wanted to show you guys every one of these steps. He's as committed to education as I am. He's like, I cannot. So you don't care if these people learn or not, Kev?
Education is the most important thing in existence.
You hear that, y'all? He said the education is the most important thing. So, I do got to do his beard. You guys have seen me do his beard a million times. So I'm going to move through the beard a little bit quicker without so much explanation. But let's do the rest of this edge up real quick. All right, you guys, I had to go in game mode there because Kev had to get to work in 10 minutes. So I went through, I did the beard as quick as I could, and I got the rest of the haircut done. I hope that you guys enjoy these tutorials. I hope that you smash that thumbs up so we can get these out to more people who need them.
This is, you know, just not a tool review, nothing really like that. Just trying to give you guys the best information I can when it comes to cutting hair and give you guys some techniques that actually work and help you get the job done. So with that being said, this is the YouTube Barber Academy, over 900 videos to help you learn. And I just want to shout out my sponsor of today's video is Booked In. You guys can head to bookedin.com/Eddie, bookedin.com/Eddie, and redeem your offer today for 50% off your first 3 months. All right, y'all. If you guys are interested in the best clippers, best trimmers, best shavers, we just finished all the mid-year roundups, and you guys can head over to one of those videos. I'll catch you over there. Peace.